was life in the fast lane. It was 24/7. We had huge companies. We had Coldwell Banker, we had Century 21, ERA, all the ones that you can never think of. And what they had were huge pocketbooks. They outspent everybody. But at REMAX, we outworked everyone.
One morning, I got into the office at about 6 in the morning, and there was Dave Lineker on his hands and knees on the floor. And he was licking, stapling, folding, and mutilating mail-outs that had to go out that day. And he had been up the entire night. The phone rang 3 times, somebody better be able to explain why. Because if they took the time to dial us, then we take the time to answer them and take care of their situation as fast as possible.
We were under everybody's radar screen.
The competitive landscape was very much against us.
Bill Eccles, he and his partner wanted to have a balloon in the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta. We had a little bit of outside input from people, and they said, you know, you ought to take that, you ought to put it on your signs, you ought to put it on your stationery, you ought to be on your cards. And that's where it came from. And of course, in the early days, people were saying, you know, what does it have to do with real estate? Well, it's above the crowd, and that's the type of people that are affiliated with the REMAX organization.
By the 80s, we had 7 years of quote management experience, marketing experience, answering the phones, taking out the trash experience. We knew what it took to satisfy sales associates. We were not in the real estate business, we were in the real estate sales associate business, and that our job was to make their job as easy as possible. By that time, we had had our Canadian regional directors come on board. Well, their economy in Canada was booming at the time.
And it was their franchise sales that kept our doors open.
The thing that carried us through in those days was what has always carried us through. It's the survival instinct of REMAX.
In the early 80s, we had one of our family that was injured. It was when Gail Lineker got hurt in an airplane crash. She was in a coma for some 10 days. And then she came out of it, and the doctors weren't very hopeful. Well, throughout all that time that she was in the coma, Dave had been by her bedside. And he'd play her motivational tapes, and he'd talk to her constantly, and we'd all go talk to her. When she finally went into the rehabilitation center after she got out of the coma, they said that her hopes of ever walking were not very good. And she looked at the doctor and she said, I will walk out of here. She wouldn't let it take her down. And I think that that ignited all of us to work even harder and harder.
We just didn't know what failure was. We wouldn't face failure. We just knew that if we hung on one more day, that we were successful one more day, and we took it a day at a time, sometimes an hour at a time, maybe even minute by minute. By the time we got into the 90s, we had a very committed group of broker owners and regional directors and regional owners that were willing to take it further.
We started to grow at 3,000 and 4,000 agents per year, which was unheard of in our history. So we knew we had to position ourselves for growth that was beyond our dreams. We don't have red tape. If we have ideas or a project we want to do, we can turn on a dime and get it done without the red tape of a committee.
It was 1997 was the first year that we participated in over 1 million transaction sites.
Nobody has ever done that before.
What it means, though, is that we have had hundreds of thousands of signs in the ground. We've had millions of ads in the local newspapers. We've had a lot of TV ads. And when you get to that critical size, it becomes very difficult for our competitors to compete against us.
I think the real reason we made giant steps is we never forgot who we were and where we came from. 2000s have been very dramatic for REMAX. What the new millennium has meant to me is now we are finally positioned with all the big boys.
When I joined REMAX in the 80s, there were only 2 countries. There was the United States and there was Canada. And then over the next decade, we grew into Europe and Asia, the Caribbean, into Mexico, to where we are now.
We have horizons that we've not even seen yet. We can't see what's over the next hill. And that's the way we've always done. We've always looked toward the next hill and said, what does it take to get us over there? And once we get over there, we're moving on to greener pastures.
We're successful today because, most important, it comes from the top.
It's the honesty, it's the hard work, it's, hey guys, we do the right thing here. That is what Dave and Gail and Fish and Jess, that's what they believed in.
If you bring people in who have drive and desire and want, and they're service-oriented and they're relationship builders, I'll tell you what, I'll take them any day. I'll teach you the job.
We like to think that every employee is a listening post and listening to what's going on in the field and giving us advice so that we can run the company a little bit better.
It's the innovation, and it's to be able to look into the future of how do we take advantage of these times instead of sitting back and feeling sorry for ourselves.
Our future is bright. We're going to come out of this downturn and we're on top of the hill. There's no question.
You know, you're personally proud of your part, but you're even more proud of everybody else.
It's when I see a REMAX pin on somebody and a logo in a supermarket or whatever, they're part of my family.
It's the people, it's the values, it's the integrity, it's where we've been, it's how we started, and it's where we're going to go.